I mean, if we
Yeah. I am ready.
is our employee recognition. I'm sorry, we're having a technical issue. I will stop here.
Very good.
Right. So our first item this evening is our employee recognition, one of the best parts of our board meeting every single time. So we have 3 categories today. We have Teacher of the Month, Employee of the Month, and then a special recognition for our Health Services Department. So first we'll start with the Teacher of the Month, and it is Ms. Lindy Novotny. She's coming right. He was walking around, so maybe a minute.
Yes, there's your seat right
All right. So our employee of the month is Ms. Lindy Novotny. Selected as Teacher of the Month, and here is what people who submitted the nominations had to say about Ms. Novotny. Lindy is willing to jump in and help her students at student events anytime we ask. She will spend her time after school or even throughout the summer meeting, brainstorming, and planning so that our freshmen feel welcome and prepared for the year during Husky kickoff. Not only does she help when asked, and these are all different people, not only does she help when asked, but she has also reached out on her own and offered to help with events like freshman sign delivery or graduation. Then within minutes of describing the help we need, she has students signed up to help in the training already planned. She has made student activities, especially Husky Kickoff Day, so meaningful and helpful to our students. Not only can we say we wouldn't be able to do it without her, but we don't want to either. She's such a cheerful, energetic, and all-around amazing person. So we have a virtual version of the certificate to show on the screen, but we also have a framed version here. Ms. Novotny, is there anything you'd like to say?
It's kind of exciting because tomorrow I get my 20th year recognition as well. So it's kind of nice. It's just such an honor to work here. This has been my only job. I came right out of college here, so obviously I live and breathe this school. So it's really nice to be recognized, and it's really fun to meet new faces. And thank you so much, School Board, for recognizing me, administration, everyone. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your hard work. That's the best. So we couldn't do it without you.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
It's very cool.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, right. Definitely.
Great. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
So our second employee is Ms. LaTanya Jackson. And here is what people who submitted about her had to say. LaTanya has simply gone beyond her call of duty as an outreach coordinator, not just during the regular school year, but on her off days, holidays, etc. Over the past year of the pandemic, LaTanya has been the sole source for school meals for many families who are unable to come pick up their food packages. I've seen her pick up food packages for as many as 10 families at a time and deliver them to their homes. Whether it's food distribution, Chromebook pickup, graduation pickup, Latanya is always right there. She is more than simply an outreach coordinator, but a community resource agent and activist, and she is so, so deserving. So, Ms. Jackson, thank you so much for all the hard work you do. We are going to display her certificate on the screen as she's joining us virtually this evening.
I think she can't.
She was here, but she had to leave. Oh, okay.
So, Ms. Jackson, we greatly appreciate all of your hard work. All right, and then we have a special recognition, extremely deserved, as they all are, for our health services department. It's Julie Toretta, Natalie Yordi, Katie Samolstis, and Don DeJoya. I hope I didn't butcher any of those. Here's what people who submitted the nominations had to say about our health services staff. So many OPRF employees have gone above and beyond during this pandemic year. Our nursing staff truly deserves special recognition. Julie, Natalie, Katie, and Donna have been our frontline staff keeping COVID-19 under control in our building, and they've done a phenomenal job. Since the beginning of the school year, they've processed more than 140 COVID cases and more than 550 quarantines among students and staff. All of these cases involve direct outreach to families and contact tracing within the building. They've dealt with myriad glitches in our symptom screener, handled parents and employees who are angry about following our protocols, and stayed on top of public health recommendations that at some point seem to change daily. They've worked closely with the health department, and they were integral to the success of our vaccination clinics. It's been a hugely stressful year for them, and they handled everything gracefully and with good humor, and we're so lucky to have them keeping us safe and healthy. And so we have some of them with us virtually this evening, and we're going to display their certificates. I don't know if anyone would like to say a few words, but you're certainly welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. Hi, everybody. This is Julie Toretta. I'm the head nurse. And not only were we completely honored and shocked, but the administration completely duped us. We thought we were in another meeting when they presented us with this award. And we log in and there's Dr. Pruitt-Adams and Greg and everybody. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is when it finally comes. Here comes the big one. So it was pretty funny, but I wanted to say thank you to not only to administration and the board, but I really want to say thank you to our community, because as tough as this has been for us and as challenging as it's been, we have gotten so many wonderful words of support and just kindness from so many members of the community, parents of students, and so on and so forth. And we don't focus enough on those really amazing people who make the job fun and wonderful and lovely, and who understand what school nurses and all healthcare workers and frontline workers are going through right now. So on behalf of the Health Services Department, I wanted to say thank you to everybody for all of your support, and hopefully we have a better year next year. So thank you so much, everyone. We're honored. We're truly honored.
Oh, thank you for your example. I see that we also have Natalie and Katie. I don't know if either of you would like to say anything, but you're welcome to.
Hi, I'm Natalie Yordi, one of the other nurses. We had discussed speaking tonight, and we deferred to Julie, so she summed it up for us. But thank you, and we're truly honored.
Thank you again. Business. Okay, we have next the status of our FOIA requests.
Yes, we have 9 FOIA requests and they're all resolved.
Thank you. We also have our student council liaison report.
Hey everybody, this is my last meeting as student council board representative, so thank you all for everything you do. I just, as a quick kind of like report, we've student council has really appreciated, and all students really have appreciated all the effort that the board or like administration has put into helping support students during, the difficult times of COVID, especially with the implementation of Bridge Week. That's been very helpful. We have not heard any reports from students in our club in favor of the no-fail grades, and the majority of students feel that they were supported by the school and its teachers. And we've also heard from many students that they feel that this no-fail policy is unfair and disrespectful to the students that have put a huge amount of effort during Bridge Week into saving their grades and raising that like lower grade up a letter grade. As an update, student council finished strong with a large number of dedicated students coming to our meetings, which was great. I think that being virtual has actually allowed more students to feel like they can come because it's not in person. And I wanted to let you know I will still be on the Student Council Board of Officers next year as the senior liaison, and next year's board rep will be my friend Hallie Rigdon, and she'll do a great job. So I'm excited for you guys to meet her and everything. And I really just wanted to come to this meeting and say thank you on behalf of myself and student council. We all wanted you to know that we really appreciate everything that you do for this school and its students. I also just wanted to say thank you for listening to all the feedback I tell you at board meetings and responding to it. It truly means a lot to me and student council that when you send out the emails to the school community addressing what I brought up in the meetings, because I feel like it just makes me feel listened to, and the school and student council, and appreciated when the board does that, and it really kind of helps connect the student body with the board. So that's just me saying thank you. I hope you have a great summer, all of you, and I hope to see some of you next year.
Thank you, May. We'll miss you.
Thank you, May. You've done a great job.
Thank you so much, Maeve.
Dave, you did a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Maeve. You've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'll be missed, but thanks for sending your friend to us.
So, I get to make someone else. The following Huskies were named National Merit Scholarship finalists: Maggie Rose Barron, Nathaniel Lee, Jonathan Mueller-Nussbaum, Emmett Perry, Dox Raskin, Eleanor Siegel, Devin Stravatt, Jackson Tanner, and Nicholas Woods. This one is especially means a lot because he's a member of CCB and a member of the Student Leaders Group. Senior Talib Beckham Goss was invited to be on the panel for the Rainbow Push Education Conference, which did take place virtually on May the 20th. The OPRF chapter of the Best Buddies Club was named Best Buddies of Illinois Chapter of the Year. Congratulations to the sponsors, Fine Joyce, Rashad Singletary, and Employee of the Month, Megan Kennedy, and the 150 plus members whose hard work and dedication made this honor possible. OPRFS also won the Can Do Community Challenge thanks to the annual fundraiser for Beyond Hunger sponsored by the Freshman Advisory Council and Faculty Senate. This is the first year the OPRFHS has brought home the Can Do trophy. The more than $10,000 raised was enough to provide 30,075 meals for families in need. Miranda Ramos and Mia Rodriguez were named the 2021 Freshman Poetry Slam co-champions. Amihai Garcia Gonzalez, also named runner-up, and Joshua Wood and Victoria Cross both received honorable mention. As we have done throughout the pandemic, we will continue to distribute 3 weekly meal packages for any child in the community ages 18 and under. Packages contain 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches. They are available every Monday from 11 to 1 p.m. For contact-free delivery, just drive up to the tent on Scoville Avenue in the north end of the building. Because this Monday is Memorial Day, next week's distribution will take place on Tuesday, June 1st. And finally, congratulations to the class of 2021, which will graduate in 2 ceremonies this Saturday, May 29th. I have no clue. May 29th at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. We invite all the community to view the commencement live on your YouTube channel beginning at 3 p.m. And that concludes the superintendent's announcement.
Thank you. so great hearing all the amazing things our students are doing. All right, now we have public comments. Gail, do we have any public comments this evening?
We do not.
Thank you. Okay, our first, so we have consent items up first. Are there any items that board members would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right. So I move that we approve the following consent items. Approval of the open and closed minutes of May 4th and 13th, 2021, and declare that the closed session audio tapes of November 2019 are destroyed. 7.02, the resolution with the governing board of the Special Education Cooperative of the Westbrook Dupage Regional Special Education Association as of July 1, 2021, appointing Greg Johnson as the alternate representative. Approval of check disbursements and financial resolutions. Settlement agreement for student identified as student A. Settlement agreement for student identified as student B. The presentation of the monthly financial reports, the monthly treasurer's report. Our contract with Boom Entertainment for a total of $36,502.30. Approval of personnel recommendations, including new hires, rehires, transfers, summer school hires, and resignations, and approval of instructional materials. Is there a second?
Second.
Could you please call the roll?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
and Ms. Dixon Spivey.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we go to the next item, I am happy to present to you our current administrators who are being promoted to new roles for the 2021-2022 school year. First, we have Dr. Lloyd Fiorenza. Dr. Lloyd Fiorenza is currently the Director of Student Learning for the district and was just approved to be our new Assistant Superintendent for Student Learning. Lloyd, would you like to say a few words?
I would just like to say thank you so much to the board, to the current administration. This is absolutely an honor.
Is that like green or red? Because I want to make sure they can hear you on the screen. I'm sorry.
We can hear her.
Okay, thank you.
I am looking forward to joining Mr. Johnson and the executive cabinet, as well as the students, the staff, the community, to push forward the strategic plan to ensure that our students get an equitable and excellent education here at Oak Park and River Forest High School. I am honored to be a part of this legacy and a part of what's moving forward. And I just want to also say how privileged I have been to work with Dr. Pruitt-Adams. She has been a remarkable mentor to me. She has provided such guidance and such a level of integrity and grace that I hope to carry on as well. So I just want to thank you.
Next, our current Director of Student Services, Linda Parker, was just approved as our new Assistant Superintendent Principal. Linda, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to be able to say how humbled and honored I am for this opportunity. I have learned so much since I have been here, and it has been all fantastic. As we ride the waves together, I'm just excited that it was seen that I could do this work and that I'm so excited to do this work. And I am committed to making sure that I put in all of my effort to making sure to maintain the excellence that this school is known for. So thank you so very much, and I can't wait to start.
Another current administrator who will assume a new role next year is Brian Byers. Brian is moving from being a dean of students to the role of division head for PE, health, and driver's ed. Brian, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations, Lori, and Dr. Parker. Thank you for hearing me out this evening. I am, as said previously by these other two wonderful individuals, I'm humbled, I'm honored. I'm looking forward to this change in position here at home, OPRF. I've been a dean here for 8 years. I'm thankful for the opportunity to lead a wonderful department, work with students more closely in the educational realm, and taking things to another level in this department. Thank you for the opportunity, and yes, looking forward to doing big things in the department.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce you to our new administrative hires. We're excited for you to join our team and look forward to working with you. First, I'd like to present to you Dr. Patrick Hardy, who will be our new Executive Director of Equity and Student Success. Dr. Hardy, would you introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Dr. Patrick Hardy. It is such an honor to be here with you. Thank you for the opportunity. I have to first thank all the committee members who put me through that absolute gauntlet to be here tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Board of Education. I'm absolutely looking forward to working with the incoming superintendent, the team that is being assembled here tonight and in other places. And I'm also excited to be able to join this particular school in its local conversation on racial equity, but also be able to be a part of the national conversation. This is a very timely conversation that I get to be a part of and to help lead. Thank you all so very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Maureen Miller, who is our new Director of Instructional Technology. Maureen, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Maureen Miller. I am so excited to be here. I love that I get to be part of a school community again, and I'm really looking forward to the work. And the new SRC that's coming in December is going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait to meet everybody and just bring tech to the forefront, make it engaging for our kids.
Welcome. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Leslie Roberts, who will be our new Assistant Director of Special Education. Dr. Roberts, would you like to tell us a few things about yourself?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. I am Leslie Roberts, and I am very much the incoming Assistant Director of Special Ed. I'm very much looking forward to serving the students of Oak Park, in particular the special education students. I'm looking forward to working with Ms. Francois Wu and all of our special education teams. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian Conant, who will be our new English Division Head. Would you like to say a few things?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. And I just I'm also very humbled and very excited about this opportunity. I know Oak Park Workforce has a tremendous reputation, and I look forward to maintaining that reputation and doing everything we can for our students. Thank you very much.
Once again, we'd like to congratulate and welcome all of our new administrators. You've impressed numerous interview committees, and it was grueling to get to where you are. We count on you to help us to continue the learning experience and improve upon that for all of our students. So get rested up over the summer because the work is about to begin. Welcome.
We are very excited to have all of you. We're really thrilled. Those of you who we've known, and those of you who are new, so welcome to all of you.
Is everybody staying? All right, then we'll move on. Our first item is an action item for President's item. Do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, sure. So as the board knows, we had a special Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, the 25th, 2 days ago. And at that time, we discussed some possible action items that the board could take in light of the current pandemic to ensure that we are best meeting the needs of our students. So I'm going to move to approve each of these items separately. I think it makes sense though to just then discuss them sort of together. Although, or is that going to complicate things for you, Gail?
We should do it separately.
Just keep it all separate? Okay. All right, so the first item, so I move to approve the first action item, which is to direct the district administration to convert all F grades to a no credit or an NC for grades 9 through 12 for the 2020-2021 school year. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we want to have further discussion as a board on this issue?
Go ahead, Tom. It's Gina. I would like to say a few things, but go ahead, Tom. Are we going to discuss each one individually?
That is the plan, simply because that's the cleaner procedurally. If the board would prefer to discuss them together, we can, and then parse them apart again for the actual votes, if that makes more sense for folks.
That makes more sense to me.
All right, so then I move to approve the second proposed action item, which is the class of 2021 only, to waive any or all of the graduation requirements that are in addition to those required by the Illinois School Code, meaning our local required classes. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and the third item is I move to waive the summer school fees for all students enrolled in summer school. I know. Enrolled in summer school and reimburse all families who have already made tuition payments. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, so does the board want us begin, or does the administration want to?
We can go on. And you know, we were presented with a proposal from Royal, giving a list of demands. Those demands are listed in the agenda item. The board entertained on Tuesday. 3 of those demands. 1, that students shall receive, those students shall receive a failing grade the second semester of 2021. 2, all students should receive credit for their current classes the second semester 2021. 3, that students should have the option to opt out of grade-based assessment. At the conclusion of the board's dialogue, the administration was directed to bring back 3 items for consideration. And those items were: 1, to direct the district administration to convert all F to no credit or NC grades for grades 9 through 12 for the 2021 school year. 2, for the class of 2021 only, waive any or all of the graduation requirements that are in addition to those required by the Illinois School Code. As a result, we are informing you that this action would result in 3 additional students being able to graduate. The third was to waive summer school fees for all students enrolled in summer school and to reimburse the families who have already paid tuition payments. This action will result in a decrease of approximately $215,000 in revenue, of which $161,022 would be reimbursed to those families who have already paid.
Discussion by the board? Gina, I know that you have some comments, and Tom. Also, apparently, I'm sorry, let me pause for 1 second. Somebody has a squeaky chair that apparently is coming through very loudly on our live stream. So if anybody knows what they are, I don't know who that is. If you could sit still, that would be great.
It's one of those chairs.
One of the orange chairs.
It will squeak.
Sorry, I don't mean to single anyone out. I really don't know who it is. But I've been getting texts about the noise. All right. Gina, did you want to go first?
I kind of would like to go last. I have more of comments than questions. But if folks have questions, I would prefer to hear the questions first.
Yeah, of course. Tom?
No, I just have comments. I think my questions have been answered, so.
Okay.
I have a combination of a comment and question, so I'll start with the question. Just as a procedural note, when we have items here, is it possible to modify or is that not possible?
You can always amend.
Okay, so I want to acknowledge that it's unfortunate that this is happening at what feels like the last minute, and after faculty and students have put a tremendous amount of work and effort into Bridge Week. So it would have been better if we could have come to this earlier in the year. And but that said, I think better to do the right thing late than not at all. And I understand that, you know, we heard from student council earlier that they felt disrespected. I understand that faculty may feel disrespected as well. And so I want to emphasize that that's, I think, not my intent, certainly. And that I want to acknowledge that this is not meant to undercut anyone's expertise and hard work this past year. But disasters are unevenly distributed. And my focus here is on harm mitigation for those students who have been most terribly impacted by this unprecedented worldwide disaster. And so my question is, I spent a while the last couple of days looking at other schools, both high schools and colleges. And one thing that we didn't talk about the other night was about the option of giving students who are currently receiving Ds the option to convert those to credit, which might improve GPA. So, and that was one of the points that the Faculty Senate brought up in their response. And so that's why.
If they get a D, they do get credit.
Right.
But you meant a higher grade for GPA?
If I believe what would happen, and Greg can maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that if the D grade is converted to a credit grade, CR, then, which is what UIC did. We changed all Fs to no credit and all Ds to credit. That would then mean that students who had a D that was pulling down their GPA, let's say they had a C average otherwise, would then not have that D pulling it down. They would have the C average.
Right, and that's what I was trying to clarify. You were meaning the impact on the GPA, not the credit, because they would get credit if they got a D.
Correct. Yeah,
So-
no, it's really unfortunate we use the same word for both, but yes, yeah.
I want to just clarify with that. I understand different institutions, of course, have different
Right.
guidelines and rules and possibilities available to them. We do not have a CR or any sort of like just generic credit
Yeah, no, that's
that we can put in place. It's not currently in our system.
Could it, I mean, sorry to like ask this at the last minute, but could that be added as an option, or is that not possible for this school year?
Well, I guess anything is possible, I suppose. But I just want to point out that would be because it's not currently a mark that's in our system. For our school district to make that change would be incredibly significant. And if, it would be incredibly significant. And I just wanted to say, I think that if I were put to it, yes, I just, Greg, what do you think? I'll venture that out there right now and say, I think at this 11th hour, that's a type of change that I would advise against.
Yeah, and I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was all I wanted to state.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from board members? Right.
I'll ask a question now and I'll get comments on this next. Is there a recommendation on all three of these from the administration?
We actually made our recommendation the other day, and that was that the board not take any action.
Okay, any other questions from board members? All right, so I assume folks want, Gina?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I don't mind commenting now, Sarah, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So first, I just want to acknowledge that I am highly appreciative of the student voices that come to the table to let us know how they feel, what's needed, what's missing, and what is problematic. I am extremely find their voices so valuable and great. I'm grateful for them. I'm also grateful for all of the efforts, and as we said in our committee of the whole, that the staff has done to get our students to where they need to be in the midst of a pandemic, and all of the work that's transpired. I'm extremely grateful. I have witnessed it as an educator, just as Dr. Mohan Raj, I'm sure, has, what it means to actually teach and continue having students grow during this pandemic, specifically. I am disheartened right now, and I am a bit torn in what we're doing tonight, and I want to explain why. I have a couple reasons. One, because I've said from the beginning I don't want anyone to fail. I don't think that anyone should be held, especially our young people, to a standard in a time of a pandemic. And that still holds true for me, especially for our seniors, who this is their last opportunity here at Oak Park. They spent their last year of high school in a pandemic. So that piece, I don't want anyone to fail. But at the same time, we are trying to Band-Aid a systemic issue right now with this decision, and I feel as though this decision is being forced. And it's being forced because the way our community operates, the way that we divide, the way that we other, and the way that we continue to set up our systems to fail. And in that way, I'm challenged, because as a board, our role is as fiduciaries, as well as to ensure that the superintendent is carrying out the mission and the vision of our school, which I feel that they have done. And we continue to come up against small groups of people, large groups of people, various groups of people, students, however they're coming, that continue to say, this is what we want. We want this, and this is what we want, and please make this happen. And as long as we continue to do this, we are going to just be at odds at each other unnecessarily. All of us, the union, the administration, the school board, the students, the people that live and work here in Oak Park are a community. And this is just another example of division. And so I'm disheartened because of the division. I'm disheartened because now we're being asked to make a decision that is going to, in my mind, our decision to make this an equitable opportunity is clear. People should not be penalized because we're in a pandemic. And at the same time, there are going to be students who did work very hard to gain that letter grade that they got, who are going to feel like what about all their hard work? So this all breaks my heart. And I cannot determine who worked harder. I cannot determine who was traumatized. That's not for me to determine. And I trust our faculty. I trust that they did the best that they could with the students that they were working with and provided every support that they could. And so now we're faced with this decision on 3 counts right now. Do we give the 3 students that can graduate the opportunity to graduate? Do we not do this at all? Are we somehow? The other piece that occurs to me, and then I'm going to stop in a second. I can't help myself, because I've been on this board now for 2 years, and I've just watched our community tear each other apart, tear the administration apart, and if we continue to do this, this is what we're going to continue to get. How are we going to come together in ways that allow us to really move the work forward, move the actual work forward, the systemic institutionalized changes that need to happen? The grading policies need to change. That's real. That has to happen. We can't continue to do things the way that we've always done it and expect that our students of color, specifically Black students, are going to have the same opportunities presented to them. They're not. that we know the flaws in the system. We have a lot of data that demonstrates that. So the system has to change, right? But right now what we're doing is setting ourselves up for a disagreement that can't actually be solved in an easy way. Other than, for me personally right now, I would like the 3 that have the ability to graduate. And is that going to be challenging to my colleagues who are also fellow educators? Yes. And at the same time, I don't want them to be held accountable for having to be something that they could not be this year because we were in a global pandemic. So I think my ask is twofold. One is for our board, because we have a new board here. We have a new board that has come, that's going to be together for at least 2 years before the next election happens. And how are we going to ensure that the work that needs to transpire on an institutional level, that we're supporting the decisions of our superintendent and our admin and our faculty and the union faculty. It's not 2 things. It's like our staff is one thing. Like, I'm a teacher, I'm union. I'm not 2 people, I'm 1 person. How are we going to model, create opportunities, and do things in a way that allows that and truly become restorative? Because this, what we're doing right here, this is not restorative. This is just divisive, and I'm hurt by it, and I'm conflicted, and I would love for us to find new ways. So where I stand on this current piece of what we're looking at, what we need to do, is I would appreciate for those seniors to have the opportunity to walk, to be able to graduate, the credits that we can waive for those 3. And then for the second piece, I would prefer that we find other alternatives, that we allow those students to, we have a myriad of ways to support the students. And ask that whatever outreach we're doing is through the multi-tiered systems of support, that we look at additional pieces of what can be done. So that's where I am right now. But I just had to express that because I'm tired of us doing the same thing. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again these past 2 years. And if it continues, then we're just our school is just gonna continue to be challenging for certain students. So thank you.
Gina, if I could just clarify your position then, that would be helpful. I thought that was very beautifully stated. So you are in favor of suggestion 2, which is the waiving the local requirements. Do you have any position on summer school fees?
The summer school fees are, I would love from our financial folks that are, those folks that are our team here. I'm valuing listening to what the rest of our board members have to say on that issue. I know that we do already offer waived summer school fees for students that have a need. I'm not sure how that would impact what this decision is and what students might be needing summer school, so I'm not clear on that. I have some pieces of lack of clarity there. So I look forward to our discussion of that.
Thank you. And did you want to comment at all on the no credit?
Say that again?
The first possible action item, which was changing Fs to Ns to no credit grades. I don't know if
you mean the changing Fs to no credit to NCs for everyone who got an F?
Correct.
Because that would have been for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and seniors as well.
Yeah, 9 through 12.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the no credit piece for the seniors. The senior class, all of our students, all of our entire community, everyone has moved through this pandemic, staff included. But the senior class, this was their last year to accomplish what they needed to accomplish to be able to graduate from Oak Park River Forest High School. The remaining students have an opportunity still, and I believe and trust in the expertise and the opportunity for our staff and administration to be able to provide what would be necessary for the remainder of our students as far as social emotional supports and academic supports.
Thank you. So once we've heard from the rest of the board, I'll loop back around, Gina, and ask if you want to make an amendment to that action item. Does that sound okay?
Mhm. Thank you, yes.
Thank you. Who wants to, Tom?
Sure. Well, thank you, Gina, for, in my mind, putting into words a lot of thoughts that I would share. And those words are that this is kind of, in my mind, trying to squeeze and force things to change, not the way that things really need to be changed. So from that context, I'm going to be short. And I do defer back. First of all, I think our administration and staff have done an admirable job in trying to meet the needs of our students. Not perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. And certainly there are those who are more impacted than others. I recognize that, but they are the professionals who have, developed this. They've made a recommendation in terms of what to move forward. So I am not in favor of overriding in grading, nor in modifying requirements. I believe that, and when we look at the data, we have trauma, but I think that administration has done a great job of trying to minimize it, and I think we need to continue to do it to allow every student to succeed. The one that I will speak to is summer school as the third piece. And there I would agree or disagree with the administration, or I would recommend that we fund the summer school so that we can give students every chance that they need. And that is a pandemic related cost. We've had other pandemic related costs. We've had pandemic related savings. And I think we need to put and support our students from that aspect so that they can provide it. So I think I've answered your 3 votes, and I'll yield to the others.
Thank you, Tom. Who else? Okay.
Yes, I kind of want to say once again, thank you to the students. I want them to make sure that they know that we're here discussing this because we're listening to their voices. This has been a very difficult decision, and it's something that I've struggled with over the last week or so. I've had conversations with a lot of people, and I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. And I've talked to community members. I've talked to some parents whose kids fall into these categories, who have had struggles. But I will say that I have a tremendous amount of respect and a tremendous amount of admiration and confidence in our administration, in our faculty, staff. And I know our systems were put in really under duress. And I think this district has done the best that it possibly could under the circumstances. And I know kids are hurting, and I am very empathetic to that. But I will say one thing is that I know that Dr. Pruitt-Adams is probably one of the most empathetic people I know. I mean, nobody cares more about our students, every one of them, than she does. And I just, and I'll go through them one by one. On the no credit for all, I just have not been able to find a reason, find a rationale to be able to agree with that. I think the empathy in my heart says that a senior who's gone through this for almost a year and a half and has struggled, I feel that they ought to have the opportunity to walk into graduate. If it means waiting a course or two. And I also agree with the statement that Ralph made the other night regarding summer school fees. And what Tom just said, this is one-time expense. This is extraordinary. And this is something that we should be spending our fund balance. So that's where I stand.
One mask was a little comfortable talking with this big mask. As I stated before, when I campaigned, I was a pragmatist, but out of empathy as needed. And as a parent of a 2020 graduate of OPRF, I understand and witness how hard the faculty administration worked to get our kids through it. We were in unprecedented times that was a pandemic, and we're trying to figure it out to move on. And I think the administration did a great job just getting through it. Because it's literally was triage, as I saw it. And no one knew what to do. The best we could, I think things were better, of course. But I think we came through it pretty well. My stance is we're still going through it. It's still kind of end of triage, but we're still going through it. And I believe 21, 22 will be a different school year because we actually have a lot of stopgaps coming from the vaccines, from we're opening up the country a little bit. I can't, with good conscience, say, yeah, you failed and it's too bad, because now let's not take away from the faculty at all. I know they did everything they could, best they could, right? And well, if everybody agreed or not, that's not for me to say yes or no. But I believe in what Dr. Adams did and Mr. Johnson did. But I think as we're still trying to get through this, like we're in survival mode at this point. I don't think we can just say, yeah, too bad you failed, because I've talked to different members of the community. I've even heard some members actually were affected by greatly. I've actually had, I won't say, I'll put much detail for that person, but I know the level of harm. And I can't measure and say, well, your trauma is different, your trauma is different. I can't do that. No one can do that. But what I do know in my heart is that we're still trying to survive. So it's not lightly I'm saying anything. It's not bad on value the teachers did, because I know you did it. You were going through it also. We all went through a pandemic together. I can't say you were mulligan because that's not realistic, but I think we can just try to have a bit of, I guess, grace in this moment. Not to override. It just has to get my perspective on it, because again, what my daughter went through, she graduated. Yeah, but I can tell you it was tough. Being stuck at home with your parents, right? I mean, not see your friends and whatnot. But then the kids that were still in school, they did it further for the school year. What harm did that do long term? I don't know. Did everyone have the same access to trauma? No. And the thing about it, I think about it, I was thinking about it while I was driving in today. The teachers did all they could do on an academic level, 100%. What they could not do is be the kids' therapist, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, or that's not their job. They do that. So it's not a failure of the administration anymore. I think if the kids have to just grace, we do something there. You did your part, but you can't do everything. Right? I think we have to just find a way to look at it from a stance of grace and empathy and how to move forward from the school year. Because honestly, as a board member, our job is to trust and move forward with our administration. But I can't help but think if the decision we make tonight, well, I'll speak for myself, that I make tonight, well, I regret it in 5 years, 6 years, 4 years, 10 years. So I'll go one by one. one thing failing will not motivate a kid to actually try to try harder next time. I just don't think it will, especially in the pandemic, when you're really dealing with different levels of trauma, whatever those levels of trauma are. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to help. And as a teacher, I get it. You did all you could do. Thought you did all you could do. You know, in your heart, you did all you can do. You don't want to hear someone override your grade. That's not what I'm saying. I'm suggesting it's just really like, hey, let's find a way to kind of just figure it out so these kids don't prefer the hunt. So my sense of wanting not to fail anyone this year, and may not be popular, but I don't know how I can fail a kid when I know adults who have been struggling with more coping skills to put food on the table, to go to work. I can't get out of bed. I mean, that's real. So I can't put the same level of burden or high level of expectation on the child who's actually trying to get to high school. Second one, this was, I think this was done previously, where you waive requirements that these kids can walk. I think that's what we're speaking for. I don't think this should be a precedent going forward, but I think the pandemic, which is almost a generation of COVID, that would be my stance. Just let these kids walk, and let's try to move forward to next school year in a better fashion. And for our summer school, I think that makes sense. Just hear the different arguments or statements from different board members and understand the fiscal, the savings we have from COVID and how this not going to put us in deficit. I think that's a fair way to move forward, is to actually waive some of the school fees. So families that don't fall necessarily in the reduced lunch program that may have a financial burden that we don't know about or maybe not tell anybody about, you can do grace there too. But I think moving forward, 21-22, our position will be completely different. But at this moment, in the past year of the pandemic, I'll say I struggled. And I'm not a person that's anxious by nature, but this has been a rough year for me and my family. So how can I expect grace from me and I can't give it to kids who are just trying to start life? So thank you for your time, and I hope my position was clear. I truly value administration. I do, because my daughter went through here, and she's now a freshman in college. And I know it wasn't easy, but even her counselor was great, following up with her every week, or us, make sure she had everything to graduate. But she was ready to graduate, just in contact was great. So I'm sorry if you feel slighted. It's not my intention. Hope you understand my stance, and let's just move forward, I think, for the next school year. Thank you.
Ralph or Mary Ann?
I said some things at the beginning. I think the only things that I would add is, you know, I did spend a while looking at what other schools are doing. I read a report from the Minnesota Public Schools, which covered all of their schools and sort of, you know, recommendations for grading during pandemics. And, you know, the overall research I'm seeing is there's a lot of disagreement. There's a disagreement among faculty, there's disagreement among administrations. I don't think anyone has come up with an ideal solution for this, right? All the choices are bad in one way or another. But the Minnesota schools ended up saying, even though these grading considerations and grading options include a thorough list of considerations and options, it's our recommendation that students should not be reported as a failure and retained or given an F during this unprecedented situation. And I totally think that that's really where I end up on all of this. And, you know, I guess I'll say, I'm not sure that all the staff and everyone knows that I'm a teacher. So I'm a teacher in my day job. UIC, when they came and did this policy, I was in the union meeting where we were discussing this, right? And some of the faculty were pretty unhappy about it. But I think where we ended up was most of us ended up feeling that it was sort of a relief for us that we could, you know, sort of give the grades that we thought were appropriate, and then the university at the administrative level could make a you know, a community decision about what would be achieving the mission in a disaster situation, which is I think what we still are in. So, so that's where, in some sense, that's where I see the distinction here, is that I think this is, while we absolutely should consider faculty input and we should consider student input, I think this is a board level decision. I think it has to be, right? And because the board is kind of asked to think about things in terms of the mission, and we have the ability to change things that is not open to staff, right? So we have the ability to say things like, can we change us to no credit in a way that's never been done before, right? So that's I guess that's a lot where I am. On the other 2 points, I would let the 3 students walk, and I would waive the fees, but I wanted to ask Sarah, I don't know if this is possible, if this will complicate the accounting, but I have an incoming freshman and she's signed up for art fundamentals. So this summer, so I think we've paid a fee. I would prefer that my family's fee not be reimbursed, if that's not going to complicate things too much, just because otherwise I'm, voting, like I can't, or I can accuse myself from that piece.
Yeah, let me give you maybe some options.
Sure.
If you're starting to abstain, I have some misgivings, honestly, about making an exception, however generous it may be. I understand where you're coming from. I feel as though if we do this for everybody. So if you wanted to recuse yourself or abstain from that vote, that would be.
I could recuse myself from that piece. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Because I have a financial consideration.
Of course.
Yeah.
I understand. Rob?
Well, Gina and Marianne said a lot of things that resonate with me, right? And Marianne, one of the things you said, and I really appreciate so far your input as a new board member. I think you've been fantastic. And same with you, Mr. Henry. I've really liked the new thoughts coming to the board. I think you've been a value add, so thank you. Brad, you're not a new board member. You don't get me to say that about you, but you're a value add anyway. There are no good decisions here, right? So whatever you do, whatever we decide as a board is going to be flawed from someone's perspective. So then I just have to make a decision based on what I'm hearing, listening to my fellow board members, to the faculty, to the students, to the teachers, and to what I think this institution stands for. And when I put all that together, I don't see how at this juncture I personally could support changing an F grade to a no credit. I look at the supports that our administration and faculty put in place, and the very small number of students that were seniors that were at risk this year compared to years prior to the pandemic. Which means that our faculty, our administration stepped to the plate. They put in place great supports. And no matter how great your supports are, no matter how well you design a system, not everyone is going to thrive in that system. Not everyone's going to take advantage of that system, and not everyone will succeed in the system, even if it is as well designed as it can possibly be. And because of that, I feel like teachers don't give grades, students earn them. Students earn them based on the faculty's perception of their mastery of the content. Some students went above and beyond to try to move their grade up from failing to a D so they could have a passing grade. And I don't know how we honor that work if we change F grades to no credit. I just don't know how we honor that work. And when I say that work, I mean by the students who did it, the faculty that did it, the administration that put the supports in place. Marianne, I think you're exactly right. This is a unique series of traumas. This is not just a regular every year thing. And I am, I don't know if you know this, I am a professor too. So I teach at Roosevelt University, and the students I've had in my classes have had various traumas this year, some COVID related, some not. One woman's husband, who's a police officer, was shot. You can imagine that was a somewhat traumatic experience for her to have to deal with. But Roosevelt University, we went out of our way to work with the students who had trauma in their lives, which is precisely what these supports were intended to do, and found a way to get the students to the point where they could demonstrate their mastery of the content in the course to sufficient levels to earn acceptable grades. And that's really where we ended up. There will be trauma every year, and no system's going to be perfect at fixing it. I feel what we did this year, especially looking at the numbers of students who were at risk of not graduating being lower than prior years when there wasn't a pandemic in place. At some point, part of what the education system is about is developing some sense of personal responsibility. And even if you're going through trauma, reaching out and getting that support you need to move forward. I too had a student go through her final year here last year through a pandemic. Did her grades suffer? Let me think about it. Yes, they did. Was she perfectly happy with everything? Absolutely not. Was she having very difficult times? Absolutely she was. So I get it. But I just can't be with the change of failed to a no credit. I absolutely support the summer school thing. I think that that's an investment that the board is making in our students and their families that try to help make up for whatever lack of learning happened in the process. I do think we should use, if we don't have federal funds to cover it or excess budget funds, we do have a reserve to cover it. I think that that is something we do for our community, for our students, and that makes it right. So that leaves me on the waiving the credit. I am honestly torn here. The students who have the opportunity to graduate or not graduate knew about those requirements all 4 years they were here. All 4 years. For whatever reason, they weren't able to get those credits done. Now, is it punitive of us in this environment to say, you know what, this environment is so special, we should waive it? That's what I struggle with, because normally I would not be inclined to waive that. Or I would say, if we're willing to waive it this year, even though the circumstances are definitely extenuating, then we ought to reevaluate whether or not any of those should stay on the books as a matter of policy. Because if we're willing to waive them, that means that at some level we feel other things can supersede them. So maybe we need to have that board discussion. So honestly, Sarah, I'm going to make that decision when the vote comes up, as I am that torn on it, because on the other hand, there are 3 students that could walk and graduate. And making a vote that prevents those 3 students from walking and graduating, even on principle, even to do the right thing, strikes me as punitive, pig-headed, and somewhere up in the ivory tower as opposed to down in the real world. So I am struggling with that one mightily. But I'm a no on the F to NC. I'm a yes on the summer school funding, and I'm a last minute decision on the waive.
Thank you, Ralph. So Ralph's points sort of brought up a question for me. If you know offhand, for the students that would be able to walk if we waive these requirements, is the issue that they enrolled in the classes and did not get credit for the course, or is the issue that their syllabus just didn't include the requisite classes?
Can look that up right now. I
haven't.
No, she wants to know why though. Like, were they in it and failed it, or did they?
It'll take us a moment.
Yeah,
To go one by one. It'll take.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know that it really much matters, but one is clearly pandemic related and one maybe not so much, right? Okay, so I think the summer school waiving fees seems to be pretty much universally thought to be worth an investment, right? I would challenge us to look at whether we should be ever paying summer school fees. I don't want to get somebody's through a heart attack, but you know, I think if we're gonna offer public education, we should make sure that we're offering as much of it as we can to as many people. So that seems to be easy. Gina, I know that you had sort of held off on discussing that piece. I don't know if there's anything you want to add before we actually vote on it.
No, I appreciate the comments from my fellow board members on that one, and yeah, agree, like, because my big thing is the students that are not seniors, I want them to have every opportunity that they could possibly get, and that's, the summer school piece is part of that.
And then as to the changing the Fs to no credit, Gina, I did want to circle back with you as well on this. Because I want to just clarify that changing Fs to NCs, absent, let me back up. And Greg.
I actually needed some clarity too, Sarah, so changing, so for the seniors, right? So basically there are 3 seniors right now that if we do number 2, which is the waiving, that they will graduate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, but if we changed to no credit, the other 26 would not?
Yeah, so
it would not affect them.
One, yeah, thanks for the question. It's good to clarify that. Recommendation 1 has no bearing on graduation numbers because by definition, no credit is given as a result of recommendation 1, which would move nobody closer to graduation.
Yeah,
And then this, go ahead, Sarah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Gina, I was just to clarify, because I think Ralphie had said something that I just wanted to be sure it was clear to everyone that you know, the students who did the hard work to pull an F up to a D are choosing to turn the Fs to no credit does not invalidate that hard work, because they took their not passing grade to a passing grade, right? Is that correct? By doing the work to get an F to a D?
Well, I think this is an interpretation, right? This is something that has an interpretation. The argument is that if I'm a student and I had worked really hard to get that D, and then this changes, if I hadn't worked really hard to get that D, I would have no credit, and then I'd retake that class for something higher than that D. Right?
I see.
And so compare that.
And I think that's why
the argument.
I think that's why UIC gave students the option of doing credit. So okay, I understand. Okay.
We have an answer.
Come up.
One second.
So 2 of the 3 students were in the class and it did not pass it. One of the students has special circumstances, and it was understood that this was a returning student to continue education. So it was understood that that student was coming back for an additional year.
You mean next year?
Correct. So that student is enrolled for school.
What do we do to that student if we somehow waive these requirements? Does that force a student to graduate who wouldn't want to ordinarily?
So it would force that student to be a graduate, yes.
Has anyone discussed this option with those students by chance? I mean, I'm not suggesting you necessarily should have, I'm just, I don't want to reject a student who doesn't want to graduate.
Yeah, yes, they're having a conversation with the students. However, there's only so far further we can go into this conversation.
Of course.
Okay,
Right.
and I think we're right at that line.
Okay.
Yep.
Also, can I just point out, this was the piece that concerned me from the beginning, was that we can't determine what caused a student to have a performance in a course right now, because we're in a pandemic. We don't have any precedent. Like, so we don't, to me, having that conversation is a moot point. Like the students, you know, that we don't, it could be a number of reasons, right? That a student was not able to perform in that course, but the piece of piece of clarity that I need is around the no credit, just to make sure I understand this piece. No credit would not hinder any of those three from completing if they were able to complete.
That is exactly right, Jeanette. Think about the effect of recommendation 1 and 2 as really independent from one another. Does that help answer that?
Yes, that helps. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'd have a follow-up then. And I know we talked about this a lot at the committee of the whole, but there's just so much more coming up for me right now. When we discussed the students who freshmen through, underclassmen, and their no credit, how detrimental are those current no credits to them not making it? How detrimental are those current Fs to them not graduating, not being on track, or being able to recoup, or whatever might be needed for them to graduate?
So, in the context of reclaiming credits, or retaking classes, or trying to find ways to get those credits back, whether it's an NC or an F on the transcript, there's no difference in what the next steps might be for that kid. There is a difference, though, with how our students can respond in the school, pandemic year or non-pandemic year. Or I should say there's a difference in how a reclaimed credit is calculated depending on what that grade is. If a student has an F, talking about before, there is an FX, and the X after the F means that F has been X'd out of GPA calculations. That then means that student's new grade completely replaces the other. So I just want to illustrate that.
So the no credit would give the students who have Fs now the opportunity to retake that course and alter their GPA.
That's the purpose of the FX, yes.
So,
sorry.
I was just about to say the FX. Wait, we weren't talking about the FX, Greg. Wait. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Gina, it's a complicated thing, so.
It is. So just to make sure I understand then, if they were granted an NC, they would be able to take the course again. That NC versus an F would not alter their GPA. The F is going to alter their GPA. The NC would not alter their GPA. They just would still need to retake the courses so that they had the required amounts of credits.
That's exactly right.
So then the responsibility at that point would be on the student to ensure that they made up for whatever they may have missed or might not have had the wherewithal or been too traumatized to complete during this year?
That's right, although I think we both agree from your comments earlier and your appreciation for the need for supportive systems, that the responsibility is on us. It's on our system to make sure that we're helping kids get those credits.
And right, and this is why I keep coming back to this, because I know the system that is there of support. The students that currently would be failing, underclassmen, I know you all have presented to us numerous times the supports that are available to them. What would be the targeted outreach specifically to the students who are underclassmen that have failed courses in this last year?
Well, summer school is step one, okay? Credit recovery through summer school is something that we do make available. Beyond that, there are a number of options throughout the year. There's summer school in previous years. There's altering the course sequences that kids might take, so adjusting their class schedules. If a student doesn't have a full load, for example, for whatever reason this next semester, you might take an opportunity to pick up an extra class during the school year and add that credit. There could be a variety of things that we do. And so it's really hard to say, your question is a general one. I think it's best answered in a general sense, but it would be the result of conversations at first with our counselors and that student and the family as they go throughout the next several months. And I don't know if Linda or want to add anything like that, but that's the general scope.
And typically teachers have
type conversations with the student about those grades as well, and have possibly called home. But the counselors definitely will be calling homes based on the final grades as they post, to inform students of the final grade and to make a plan for how necessary credits will be recovered. Just a reminder that every F may not be an F that has to be recovered, only the ones that are required for graduation.
I would just add that we will also use the MTSS system, looking at our interventions that we currently have in place, using the data from this year to place kids intentionally. In addition, we will look at our in-school credit recovery opportunities to see if we can make any adjustments to that process based on the data.
I appreciate all that. My challenge is still students that will slip through the system that's set up. And I know that there is no perfect system, right? There is no perfect system that's going to attend to every single piece, and we're wanting there to be a no-fail place, right? A place where, that's what we strive for here. That's what we've always been striving for as long as I've been here. I still feel that I feel like the effects of the pandemic are so unknown at this point, and it's still very challenging to know how much of the effects of the pandemic impacted those grades. But I do feel, I will stick with this, that I feel like the students that are freshmen, sophomore, and junior still have an opportunity to complete their coursework and move forward. And I stand by. So I don't believe that I would be a no for the no credit at this point.
Jeanette, can I just clarify, because earlier you mentioned you wanted to do working about figures, has that changed?
Yeah, because it has no impact on the seniors, right?
Okay.
So I'm only, right, it's my biggest concern right now, having been a senior who was waiting until the day before graduation to find out if I was going to graduate, based on the work that I completed to get me to the space that I needed to get to at Oak Park River Forest High School, and having been a senior and a freshman and a sophomore who was potentially overlooked in courses and may have experienced levels of whatever microaggressions or implicit bias or institutional racism existed in 1984 to 88. I recall this feeling. And I also know that I recall this feeling not in a pandemic, just being a student. So right now, having experienced what we've experienced, I still stand for the students, those 3 students, to have the opportunity to graduate.
Thank you.
Quick question for clarification. What I think I heard from Greg on question number 2 was that there was one student who didn't desire to graduate. And
it's a little bit more involved in that, but I couldn't get it clear.
No, I understand. So can we, I'm just asking if it could be amended at that they could graduate either at the request or
I'm sorry to jump in, but as I understand the recommendation, there's no need for that. The recommendation is to waive the credits, and then what that means for students in the school, we will enact, okay? But the recommendation is to waive credits, not to waive credits and therefore all of these kids graduate. We are saying that there are 3 credits here. There are 3 kids who, if you waive these credits, it would result in them having enough credits to satisfy our graduation requirements. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then how we interpret that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, I think we're ready to vote. Yes.
Just one just for a critical thought for everyone. I guess the question is more for Greg. whether a kid gets the NC or the F, they're not getting credit, right? That's a senior. We're really talking about the seniors here, right? And for summer school, they attend summer school. Realistically, how many kids would then actually graduate or could graduate from this school year? If they attend summer school and you could actually hit the requirements.
So as I understand the question, it's impossible to give a really concrete answer to that because there's an array of credits that kids could get during summer school. And in order to answer it, I have to predict, yes, each one of these credits is possible for each kid. You know, some might have, a large one. But what we're talking about for those students we are overall monitoring and tracking, we would be talking about somewhere 20 to 30 additional students who would be in that ballpark. Being potentially able to move on as a result of summer school credit recovery, okay? Which is roughly parallel to where we have found ourselves in previous years, pre-pandemic, as we talked about today. Does that hit that, Kabir?
It doesn't. It sounds like maybe some of the board that want either amend or point one, because if that's taking all students tonight as well from the account, as opposed to solely seniors who we're talking about graduation, right? So I'm not sure if that's something we're considering.
Could you clarify? I'm not clear on
Well,
what you just said.
essentially, is option one is all Fs or NC, right? As opposed to just seniors who take, or because that's what we're talking about, I guess, for underclass, we're talking about GPA being affected. And with seniors, we're talking about the ability to this GPA doesn't matter as much.
Almost better for the seniors to go to summer school and get credit.
Because they'll do it anyway.
Right, so no credit means they still have no credit.
Right.
If it's an F or not, and so it kind of just eliminates option one, and they go to summer school.
Right.
If they go to summer school and they are successful gaining the number of credits they need to graduate, they will graduate from summer school. We don't call it summer school then. The administration brings to the board in the fall the recommendations for those students who completed in summer school, and then their diploma would say they were 2021 graduates.
Yeah, for the purposes of trying to ease the path, and that's what I hear your motive being. For the purpose of trying to ease the path for those seniors who do not graduate right now, and making summer school more likely to get them credits, the NC versus F path has really no bearing on that. These students will be enrolled in summer school, and I would even say because of the FX factor, the effects on the GPA would be negated in both instances. So, I mean, in practical terms, I think it's a fair argument to say that it's in many ways a wash. It's literally a different rotation. But as long as kids make up those credits they need, the F becomes an FX, not calculated in GPA, the new grade takes its place. NC, no credit, take the new class has a grade, that's factored into the GPA. So it's really the same.
It's not an easy decision, as I said earlier. For me, it's just trying to be empathetic, at the same time, realistic and pragmatic. But
Did you want to make an amendment?
no, because I don't think there's a good way to even do it. As
Well,
it stands,
I
I think
think-
we have to just.
Well, I think what you could do is for the point one, you could divide it. You could say, 1A is we vote on whether to do this for all grades. And then depending on if that fails, then 1B would be do it for seniors only. Does that make sense?
Right, but what I want to clarify is there support for either one of those? I don't know, I'm not sure of. Did you want to make an amendment?
I am still in favor of converting all Fs to NC. I think Fs are stigmatizing, and I think that in this year that's one small burden we can lift. So, but I think Gina wanted to add the second option.
Just a point of clarity. If a motion fails, all right, can a amended motion be brought in replacement?
Sure. Or we can amend it before. I mean,
No, I know you can amend it before, but I'm asking if the motion fails, can another motion be brought to the table? Okay, thank you.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we just take a vote and see where we all stand?
Hey, Sarah, I'm not sure if you weighed in. I would really love to hear your thoughts on the three.
I'm sorry, I didn't weigh in. So busy members. Okay, so I think the waiving summer school I did mention, and I think that that's a good idea just generally. So I'm in favor of that. For waiving graduation requirements, with the new information that we received about the administration ultimately having the final decision and that as to whether to grant that or not, I'm also in favor of that. I find the Fs to NCs ultimately the most challenging for a variety of reasons. Certainly, hearing Maeve, for example, earlier, talking about how her colleagues that she'd spoken with felt that their hard work wasn't being given the respect it deserves, perhaps. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but that was my takeaway. I do find that persuasive, right? We're here to make students feel like they've earned their grades through their own hard work, which certainly they have, and I hate to diminish that in any way. So that one is much harder for me. I'm also, I hear the faculty's concerns about overriding their grades and changing them, and certainly they have autonomy and they should have autonomy in classrooms. So I think at this point, I'm actually leaning towards not supporting that. And so I am a yes, those the other two.
Thank you, Sarah.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this consciously trying to get us to vote. All right, so I'm going to repeat the motion so that everyone's very clear on what we are going to be voting on. So the first vote will be on option 1, which is to direct the district administration to convert all F grades to a no credit or an NC for grades 9 through 12 for the 2020-2021 school year. Gail, could you please call the roll as to that?
Mr. Martieri?
No.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Mr. Kosky?
No.
Dr. Maharaj?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
No.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Dixon Spivey?
No. All right, so that motion failed. All right, point 2, for the class of 2021 only, waive any or all, let me start over. I'm going to redo this motion and ask for a second, just to make it more explicit.
Second. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So, okay, so Gail, what I'm a little worried about is that it's waive any or all of the requirements. Is that what gives the administration the discretion?
It's really,
It's waive all, isn't it?
and then dig that off, when it's in addition to those required. I think that language could be confusing. So it should be above all those required, because if you look at this, it almost means like in addition to the state requirements, you want to waive.
Yeah.
So you should probably amend that to say for the class of 2021 only, waive, I would say, district required credits for graduation.
Yes.
That's clear.
And if you say it that way, you're saying all of our district requirements, not just any
Right,
or all.
I think there's a couple places confusion. Let me start this whole thing over, please. Okay, for the class of 2021 only, waive all local graduation requirements. Is there a second?
Second.
Jeff, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Martieri?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Kosky?
No.
Dr. Maharaj?
Yes.
Ms. Dixon Spivey?
Yes. All right, that motion passed. All right, last, waives, this is waiving summer school fees for all students, 9 through 12, or I guess even entering students, enrolled in summer school and reimburse all families who have already made tuition payments, with the understanding that Dr. Maharaj is going to be abstaining. Gail, do you please call the roll?
She's going to be recusing herself.
Recusing yourself.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj. Recusing. Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Dixon Spivey.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to the administration for a ton of work, researching, writing, thinking, talking. I really do appreciate it, and for a newly promoted administrator, I promise this is rare.
Can I add?
Yeah, Gina.
Can I just add something to, as we close this out? I want to say thank you to our students for everything that they've said and brought to the table. And I've said it in a number of spaces, but I just need to say it here again. If any members of Royal or any other student organization would like to be part of the Culture, Climate, and Behavior Committee as we begin the work of strategic goals and all the work that we continue to do on that committee, I would really welcome their presence and their voice in the space, because their voices are critical to how we transform the system, and because our work will be systematically and systemically being done from the beginning of the year on. It would be really valuable to have their presence there, and so I wanted to reiterate that. And also thank you so much to the staff and the administration, and to my fellow board members, because this was a hard one, and I really look forward to how our new board moves in discussing what needs to happen. Also, I really do hope that the grading policy gets to be part of one of our conversations as we move forward. Like it's very clear that there are systemic issues, and I want us to really tackle those in my at least 2 years that we have on the board. I have left. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is a discussion item. It is the intergovernmental agreement between the River Forest Community Center and Oak Park High School relative to the Husky Club being on site, and our site kids being on site at the River Forest Community Center. We're bringing this forward at this time as a part of the intergovernmental agreement, which says we have to bring the item for representation a year in advance. Mr. Carriosho will start off with the background information, and this will be a short presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Pruitt-Adams. This agreement has been in place for approximately 13 years, and the latest chapter of that started in May of 2018, about 3 years ago. We had a fire marshal report, which is typically done for relicensing for the daycare center within our building. And one of the items that came up was an issue regarding secondary egress for the students getting out of the building, not the primary exiting of the building, but the secondary. And that particular finding was extremely difficult to try to remediate. And we worked on it, and we couldn't find an acceptable solution for the remediation of that. And in December of 2019, almost just over a year later, we made a presentation to the board, which is basically a proposal to redo that space for the daycare center. And the price tag on that was pretty significant, about $750,000 to redo that space. At the time, the board questioned what we were doing and talked about the whole idea of having a daycare center within the building, so on and so forth. We came back the following month with a revised presentation. In the interim time, we had this original finding from a fire marshal back, as I said, in May of 2018. In January of 2020, we had a new fire marshal come in, and basically, I don't want to say he redid it, but he came up with another solution for secondary egress, which was acceptable and did not require the significant remediation that we originally thought would happen. all that to say, there were some other findings which we were very happy, very capable of fixing. They're all fixed at this point. But that's really what precipitated this conversation that we're going to have this evening. At that time, we made a commitment to the board to come back May of 2021, right now, to talk about this item and to talk about the whole idea of the space sharing agreement. We provide the River Forest Community Center some space within our building for the Husky Pups Daycare Center. They provide us several classrooms in River Forest at the community center for our site program. So that's really what's in conversation this evening. And I just wanted to give you some background on how we've gotten to this point.
I do want to add before we move on, with Mr. Anderson and Ms. Francois Blue, that at the conclusion of, as we're bringing this forward now, we did invite Mr. Chappelle, who is the director for the River Forest Community Center, to be with us. He was unavailable tonight, but he will be with us in June when we bring this forward. I think he's here. He's on Zoom. Oh, I thought he was not here today. Oh, okay. Our goal though is, at the conclusion of the discussion, we will recommend that we, moving the space sharing agreement to the June 10th, 2021 special board meeting after the CAL for approval of a 1-year extension. This extension would allow the administration the time to continue negotiations with the RFCC and bring in alternative solutions for board approval. This item is in compliance with strategic plan for operations, facility, and finance. Ms. Francois Blue, Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Chappelle, if you want to kind of share what we've been doing that is resulting in this recommendation.
So we have several meetings located at the.
Turn your mic off, please.
We've had several meetings located at the River Forest Community Center in order to find locations that will be more sufficient for the students that's attending classes over there. So me, myself, Ms. Francois Blue, Dick Chappelle, we met to look at the spaces that are available and the ones that we're currently in to see if we could better accommodate the things that we're looking for. Ms. Francois Blue could elaborate on the items that we were seeking.
Yes, and I just want to add before I go into that, I did conduct a site program and needs assessment with all of the staff, stakeholders, and also we'll be following up to extend that to parents and students in the fall to get further input into how we want to continue to evolve as we provide those program services for students both on site, our RCC and site that was on campus. The one thing that we did take into account is that may or may not be known. We do have a House bill that is currently right now being passed or has passed, soon to be signed, for transition services for students to return beyond the age of 21. And one of the things that's very important is how do we make sure that we are taking into account the return of those students and provide a robust set of transition services to meet their needs up to age 22. So we were looking at how do we have our current spaces and how can we expand and explore utilizing spaces down the second floor of our RCC to allow us to do a programming for our students that is more suitable for their needs. These are older students, they need more space. Our technology infrastructure right now at the RCC for the classroom on the second floor is extremely limited. It is limited as well as downstairs. And there's been some problems that we have, or solutions that we've explored but have been temporary. The other thing that we're looking at is we have the ability to remain at RCC with all of our classrooms be on the first or second floor. And I'll let Dick Chappelle discuss that, exploring that some of the programs that he has is required that they be on the first floor.
Mr. Chappelle.
Yes.
Ms. Francois Blue said you would speak to what we're exploring in your building.
You know, when I had sent some correspondence to the administrators at the high school, my opinion was if we could defer a decision for another year to try and see what would be practical for a couple of reasons. One, right now, the Site 1 classroom occupies space on our first floor. If we were to expand into infant and toddler care, that would be something we would likely look to move the site program upstairs on the second floor in fairly close proximity to where the Site 2 and Site 3 classroom is located on the second floor already. Part of the, and again, this was all detailed in the original memos that I had sent, but for us to be able to provide childcare for children under age 6, that has to be located on the first floor. And right now with the Site 1 program operating on the first floor, that's, I guess, in essence, valuable space for us. And it kind of precludes any expansion of our current childcare program. So that was one of the things that we had potentially kicked around as far as possibly locating the site program so that it would be up on the second floor with the Site 2 and Site 3 programs.
Thank you.
And this would be the most fiscally responsible thing that we're trying to do to make sure we also take care of the needs of the kids at the same time.
The extension of the current agreement, which is due to expire June 30th, 2022, with the extension to June 30th, 2023, will allow the River Forest Community Center to see what they could do to accommodate the site program on the second floor, but it will also allow us, should that not happen, to have alternative. Whether that alternative be the location here where the RFCC is currently located and what those renovations could potentially look like, or another facility that would allow us to truly have the type of transition program that it details, which would allow for space for cooking, space for laundry, bedrooms, so that it's that transition into day-to-day living. And so we're asking to come back upon the conclusion of the discussion with the approval of the recommendation at the June 10th CAP. We're open for any questions if you have any.
Questions from any board members?
Just a clarification, are there two childcare programs, one here and one at
Yes.
the River Forest Community Center right now?
Yes, there's always been location here. There's an infant care, and this is the 3 and 4 year olds here. We have 2 spaces here, but they've always had spaces at the River Forest Community Center.
Or did you have any other questions based on that? All right. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chanel.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are pulling item 9.02 instructional coaching and bringing it back at a later time. So that concludes our items for discussion.
All right, we do have some information items for those who are interested. Future agenda items. Do you have any suggestions for future agenda items?
Yes, I want to. I would like to revisit or revisit Imagine Project 1, and specifically the 2 components of classrooms that remain on schedule for completion.
You're saying it's an action item?
Information and action, yeah.
I believe that is scheduled for, there's one update coming in June. There's also going to be an accessibility report. Also in June, and part of the superintendent's evaluation will be, I'm going to use Mr. Coffey for the stage gate that shows what's been done, where we are in timeframes for that. Is that similar to what you're talking about? Because if not right now, I believe the next scheduled Imagine update is for the fall, like August. So I'm saying it's already in our calendar. So what you're asking for is already in our calendar.
Okay.
As
I
to
just
the
want to make sure it's gonna
discussion
be
part,
addressed. Well,
as to the discussion part, if you wanted an action item related to it, then that I think would be a little different.
Right, it's up right now for discussion. We try to do an update on Imagine, as you know, every other month. Cindy, I thought Cindy was trying to say that. We will also be coming in June with an update on funding for Project 2.
Yeah, can I make a friendly amendment to Fred's suggestion? And we talked about doing this, but weren't we gonna have a board meeting this summer where we looked at Project 2, we looked at our capital plan, we looked at Project 1, and we tried to realign priorities and see what was feasible and what wasn't? I thought we were gonna have that discussion this summer.
So that's being done as a part of Superintendent Goal 3, that alignment with that schedule. There's one more meeting in July, but that is scheduled for this summer, and for Project 2 funding, that's scheduled for the June regular board meeting.
Okay.
Right? Did you want to say more? If there's an action item you'd like to suggest? Don't have to talk about it right this second, but we need to know in advance of that meeting. For all purposes.
no, I said I'd like to have a discussion and revisit the completion of the full Project 1.
Okay. All right, any other future agenda items?
Sarah, I would like to, I know I've already mentioned this, but I would like us to revisit and have information shared with us about the students that are freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, and the grades and how many, and like, I want to make sure that that we're really aware of how the grading policy is impacting the students. So I just want us to have some more information about that.
So I understand the administration is going to be convening a grading policy committee, and that work is going to begin in the fall, if I'm not mistaken. And I was going to be updated.
Yeah, so there were two things in what I think Gina said. One is grading policy. Dr. Fiorenza is working on a kind of a formative committee this school year, and they're going to be kind of compiling various, just continuing the work next year in a more active oriented way. This was a learning year in many ways. But also I hear in Gina's question a report on how the effect of the pandemic is going to play out grades 9 through 11. Is that right, Gina? I see you. And so,
you heard me,
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, yes.
So that's not just our academic interventions, but it's also just, an academic update on how our school is doing. And so absolutely, that should be, and it is in the works.
Can I just mention something on that kind of same topic?
Yes.
Would be the current 7th graders.
Yeah.
Are the kids that are going to be coming in to the first year of curriculum change. All right, and so whatever articulation, whatever work we can do with District 97 to get an idea of where they stand in terms of how the pandemic has affected their learning. All right, and where they're, so we're ready for when they come in.
Absolutely. What we'll do to start that off, there is, just since you're last on the board, the data sharing kind of protocols and points in time and all that stuff has been really formalized between District 90 and District 97, and we can give the board an update on that. And then from there, kind of see what questions we have and go out. I think that's a question.
Yeah, Greg, when will we get that, Mr. Johnson, when will we get that report about the data sharing? Because I'm really interested in more info about that.
We put some information out a few weeks ago.
In the week notes.
In the end of week notes that we had sent to the board.
Yeah.
And we can maybe reshare that and figure out exactly what extra pieces we might be needing, or what are the questions we have. Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sarah, I don't know if this is already in the works, so I would love to see sometime in the next few months a report, probably from the Director of Equity, But on the effects of the pandemic, essentially, right? Like what is then, and ideally, I'd like this cross-reference across to the extent that we have this data, not just race and ethnicity, but also class. So I'm just thinking of things like, you know, when my upper middle class students miss an assignment, they're often in my office the next day, like, how do I make this up? Blah, 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 right? And a lot of my working class students, they miss a test or a paper.
Socioeconomic class.
Yeah, so, and they, sorry, yeah, and then they just disappear, they stop coming to class, right? And then I've got to, even if I call and follow up with them, there's a way in which they feel like they've already failed, and there's a shame factor that gets in their way. So I know that we have some info based on who is on free and reduced lunch, so, and maybe that's the only data we have about economic class, but if whatever we have, I'd appreciate seeing that at some point.
I do want to say, with regards to that, we will have in June, it won't be on the pandemic, there will be a presentation on the racial equity policy and the implementation of procedures for this year, but I would ask, with this being with our new racial executive director of equity and success, to give me the opportunity to maybe do that late fall.
Sure, I don't have any specific timeline for this, and I think the pandemic stuff we're going to be probably needing to do a couple times over the course of the next couple of years, right? Because it'll be a while before we really understand the effects.
And I can I get some clarification, Mr. Organ, on your request. I think I have yours now. You want, with regards to project 1, you want to know what's been done, the timeline, and how we're going to do the 20 remaining classrooms?
Yes.
Is that, okay. All right, then I was remiss, if I might. Under information, we also have teachers who will be recognized tomorrow for having reached tenure. There are 18 of them, and if you will just indulge me for a minute, because we have several who, because they've had excellent evaluations, who are getting their tenure in advance. For English, we have Andrew Brown. For the librarian, Louise Bergman. For languages, Paula Cano, which is an accelerated tenure, which means Paula's getting her tenure after 4 years. 3, I'm sorry. English, we have Erica Eckert, another accelerated tenure. Also in English, Melissa Gunnings. We have in English, Jolene Hyman, who is an accelerated tenure. In physical education and health and drivers there, we have Kevin Hahn, who is an accelerated tenure. In fine arts, we have Natalie Hornet. Also in physical education, health and driver's ed, Christine Johnson. In credit recovery, Susanna Laura, who's an accelerated tenure. In science, Lucas Payne. In special education, Cynthia Perez. In science, Ashley Raymond, an accelerated tenure. In special education, Joseph Ryan. Special education, Conchita Stewart Day. In history, Carly Tarantino Spore. In health services, our lead nurse, Julie Toretta, an accelerated tenure. And in mathematics, Christian Works.
Congratulations to all of our teachers for being tenure.
Can I ask, just to clarify, what does tenure mean at the high school level? Like, is it the same as college tenure in terms of we can't be fired except in extreme circumstances, or is it something different?
It's a large question, but generally it's the same concept, yes.
Yeah. All right, that's fine.
I want to thank everyone this evening for a very productive board meeting. But I think it's time for us to say goodnight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone opposed? All right, thanks everyone. Have a great night.
Opposed.
Good night, everyone.
What time do we meet tomorrow?
So funny, Tom.
I need my rose, yes.